Enewetak Atoll, also spelled Eniwetok Atoll, is sometimes Eniwetok, Marshallese, Ānewetak, Ānewetak, or Ānewetak, Ānewetak, is a large coral atoll of 40 islands in the Pacific Ocean, and with its 850 people forms a legislative district of the Ralik Chain of the Marshall Islands. With a land area total less than 5.85 square kilometers, 2.26 square miles. It is no higher than 5 meters and surrounds a deep central lagoon. 80 kilometers, 50 miles, in circumference. It is the second westernmost atoll of the Ralik Chain and is 305 kilometers, 190 miles, west from Bikini Atoll. Nuclear testing by the U.S. totaling more than 30 megatons of TNT took place during the Cold War. In 1977 to 1980, a concrete dome, the Runit Dome, was built on Runit Island to deposit radioactive soil and debris. The Runit Dome is deteriorating and could be breached by a typhoon, though the sediments in the lagoon are even more radioactive than those which are contained. Etymology: the U.S. government referred to the atoll as Eniwetok until 1974, when it changed its official spelling to Eniwetak, along with many other Marshall Islands place names, to more properly reflect their pronunciation by the Marshall Islanders. Geography: Eniwetak Atoll formed atop a seamount. The seamount was formed in the late Cretaceous. This seamount is now about 4,600 feet, 1,400 meters, below sea level. It is made of basalt, and its depth is due to a general subsidence of the entire region and not because of erosion. Eniwetak has a mean elevation above sea level of 10 feet, 3.0 meters. History: humans have inhabited the atoll since about 1000 BC. The first European visitor to Eniwetak, Spanish explorer Álvaro de Saavedra, arrived on 10 October 1529. He called the island Los Jardins, the Gardens. In 1794, sailors aboard the British merchant sloop Walpole called the islands Brown's Range, thus the Japanese name Brown Atoll. It was visited by about a dozen ships before the establishment of the German colony of the Marshall Islands in 1885. With the rest of the Marshalls, Eniwetak was captured by the Imperial Japanese Navy in 1914 during World War I and mandated to the Empire of Japan by the League of Nations in 1920. The Japanese administered the island under the South Pacific Mandate, but mostly left affairs in hands of traditional local leaders until the start of World War II. The atoll, together with other part of Marshall Islands located to the west of 164 degrees east, was placed under the governance of Pohnpei District during the Japanese administration period, and is different from rest of Marshall Islands. In November 1942, the Japanese built an airfield on Ānewetak Island, as they used it only for refueling planes between Truk and islands to the east. No aviation personnel were stationed there and the island had only token defenses. When the Gilberts fell to the United States, the Imperial Japanese Army assigned defense of the atoll to the 1st Amphibious Brigade, formed from the 3rd Independent Garrison, which had previously been stationed in Manchukuo. The 1st Amphibious Brigade arrived on January 4, 1944. Some 2,586 of its 3,940 men were left to defend Eniwetok Atoll, supplemented by aviation personnel, civilian employees, and laborers. However, they were unable to finish the fortifications before the American attack came in February. During the ensuing Battle of Eniwetok, the Americans captured Eniwetak in a 5-day amphibious operation. Fighting mainly took place on Ānewetak Islet, site of the most important Japanese installation, although some combat occurred on the main islet of Eniwetak itself and on Parry Island, where there was a Japanese seaplane base. Following its capture, the anchorage at Eniwetak became a major forward base for the U.S. Navy. The daily average of ships present during the first half of July 1944 was 488. During the second half of July, the daily average number of ships at Eniwetak was 283. In 1950, John C. Woods, who executed the Nazi war criminals convicted at the Nuremberg trials, was accidentally electrocuted here. After the end of World War II, Eniwetak came under the control of the United States as part of the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands until the independence of the Marshall Islands in 1986. During its tenure, the United States evacuated the local residents many times, often involuntarily. The atoll was used for nuclear testing as part of the Pacific Proving Grounds. Before testing commenced, the U.S. exhumed the bodies of United States servicemen killed in the Battle of Eniwetak and returned them to the United States to be reburied by their families. 43 nuclear tests were fired at Eniwetak from 1948 to 1958. The first hydrogen bomb test, codenamed Ænjenje, occurred in late 1952 as part of Operation Ivy. It vaporized the islet of Elijah Lab. This test included B-17 Flying Fortress drones to fly through the radioactive cloud to test on-board samples. B-17 motherships controlled the drones while flying within visual distance of them. In all, 16 to 20 B-17s took part in this operation, of which half were controlling aircraft and half were drones. To examine the explosion clouds of the nuclear bombs in 1957-58, several rockets, mostly from Raccoons, were launched. One USAF-M was lost at sea during the tests. A radiological survey of Eniwetak was conducted from 1972 to 1973. In 1977, the United States military began decontamination of Eniwetak and other islands. During the 3-year, $100 million cleanup process, the military mixed more than 111,000 cubic yards, 85,000 cubic meters, of contaminated soil and debris from the islands with Portland cement and buried it in an atomic blast crater on the northern end of the atoll's Runit Island. The material was placed in the 30-foot, 9.1 meter deep, 350-foot, 110 meters wide crater created by the May 5, 1958, Cactus nuclear weapons test. A dome composed of 358 concrete panels, each 18 inches, 46 centimeters thick, was constructed over the material. The final cost of the cleanup project was $239 million. The United States government declared the southern and western islands in the atoll safe for habitation in 1980, and residents of Eniwetak returned that same year. The military members who participated in that cleanup mission are suffering from many health issues, but the U.S. government is refusing to provide health coverage. Section 177 of the 1983 Compact of Free Association between the governments of the United States and the Marshall Islands establishes a process for Marshallese to make a claim against the United States government as a result of damage and injury caused by nuclear testing. That same year, an agreement was signed to implement Section 177, which established a $150 million trust fund. The fund was intended to generate $18 million a year, which would be payable to claimants on an agreed-upon schedule. if the $18 million a year generated by the fund was not enough to cover claims, the principal of the fund could be used. A Marshall Islands Nuclear Claims Tribunal was established to adjudicate claims. In 2000, the tribunal made a compensation award to the people of Eniwetak consisting of $107.8 million for environmental restoration, $244 million in damages to cover economic losses caused by loss of access and use of the atoll, and $34 million for hardship and suffering. In addition, as of the end of 2008, another $96.658 million in individual damage awards were made. Only $73.526 million of the individual claims award has been paid, however, and no new awards were made between the end of 2008 and May 2010. Due to stock market losses, payments rates that have outstripped fund income, and other issues, the fund was nearly exhausted as of May 2010 and unable to make any additional awards or payments. A lawsuit by Marshallese arguing that changed circumstances made Nuclear Claims Tribunal unable to make just compensation was dismissed by the Supreme Court of the United States in April 2010. The 2000 Environmental Restoration Award included funds for additional cleanup of radioactivity on Eniwetak, rather than scrape the topsoil off, replace it with clean topsoil, and create another radioactive waste repository dome at some site on the atoll. A project estimated to cost $947 million. Most areas still contaminated on Eniwetak were treated with potassium. Soil that could not be effectively treated for human use was removed and used as fill for a causeway connecting the two main islands of the atoll, Eniwetak and Parry. The cost of the potassium decontamination project was $103.3 million. It is projected that the majority of the atoll will be fit for human habitation by the year 2026-2027 after nuclear decay. Decontamination and environmental remediation efforts create sufficient dose reductions. However, in November 2017, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation reported that rising sea levels caused by climate change are seeping inside the dome, causing radioactive material to leak out. Education. Marshall Islands Public School System operates Eniwetak Elementary School. Marshall Islands High School on Maduro serves the community. Eniwetok Airfield. Men from the 110th Naval Construction Battalion arrived on Eniwetok between 21 and 27 February 1944, and began clearing the island for construction of a bomber airfield. A 6,800-foot, 2,100 meters, by 400-foot, 120 meters, runway with taxiways and supporting facilities was built. The first plane landed on the 11th of March. By the 5th of April the first operational bombing mission was conducted. The base was later named for Lieutenant John H. Stickle. In mid-September 1944 operations at Wrigley Airfield on Āne-wātak Island were transferred to Eniwetok. U.S. Navy and Marine units based at Eniwetok included VB-102 operating PB-4Y-1s from 12 to 27 August 1944. VB-108 operating PB-4Y-1s from the 11th of April to the 10th of July 1944. VB-109 operating PB-4Y-1s from the 5th of April to the 14th of August 1944. VB-116 operating PB-4Y-1s from the 7th of July to the 27th of August 1944. VPB-121 operating PB-4Y-1s from the 1st of March to the 3rd of July 1945. VPB-144 operating PV-2s from the 27th of June 1945 until September 1946. The airstrip is now abandoned and its surface partially covered by sand. Parry Island Seaplane Base. The Imperial Japanese Navy had developed a seaplane base on Parry Island. Following its capture on the 22nd of February, Seabees from the 110th Naval Construction Battalion expanded the base, building a coral surface parking area and shops for minor aircraft and engine overhaul. A marine railway was installed on a Japanese pier and boat repair shops were also erected. U.S. Navy and Marine units based at Parry Island included VP-13 operating PB-2Y-3s from the 26th of February to the 22nd of June 1944. VP-16 operating PBM-3Ds from the 7th of June to the 1st of August 1944. VP-21 operating PBM-3Ds from the 19th of August to the 17th of October 1944 and from the 15th of July to the 11th of September 1945. VP-23 operating PBY-5s from the 20th of August 1944 to the 9th of April 1945. VPMS-6 operating PBM-5s from the 1st of February 1948 in support of Operation Sandstone. VP-102 operating PB-2Y-3s from the 3rd of February to the 30th of August 1944. VP-202 operating PBM-3Ds from the 24th of February to the 1st of March 1944. VPB-19 operating PBM-3Ds from the 2nd of November 1944 to the 12th of February 1945 and the 6th of March 1945 to January 1946. VPB-22 operating PBM-3Ds from the 10th of October to the 30th of November 1944 and from the 25th of June to the 7th of August 1945. List of nuclear tests at Eniwetok. Summary. Operation Sandstone. Operation Greenhouse. Operation Ivy. Operation Castle. Operation Redwing. Operation Hardtack I. On. Gallery. Notes. Roberts, Michael D. 2000. Dictionary of American Naval Aviation Squadrons. Volume 2. The History of VP, VPB, VP, H, and VP, AM, Squadrons. Washington, D.C. Naval Historical Center. Department of the Navy. Retrieved the 22nd of January 2015. Bureau of Yards and Docks. 1947. Building the Navy's bases in World War II. History of the Bureau of Yards and Docks and the Civil Engineer Corps. 1940 to 1946. U.S. Government Printing Office. Hessel, Francis X. 1994. The First Taint of Civilization. A History of the Caroline and Marshall Islands in Pre-Colonial Days. 1521 to 1885. University of Hawaii Press. ISBN 978-08248-1643-8. This article incorporates public domain material from the Air Force Historical Research Agency. Website http www.afhra. AF. Mill. Marshall Islands Site. Entry at ocean.com at the Wayback Machine. Archived December 23, 2010. Annotated bibliography for Eniwetak Atoll from the ALSO's Digital Library for Nuclear Issues. Information on legal judgments to the people of Eniwetak. Nursing a nuclear test hangover. www.whattoday.com. O report on Runit Dome. August 18, 2008. Eniwetak Atoll atomic debris cleanup mission survivors.